Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we have some exciting news in regards to booster box prices, specifically in regards to the context of what I just found out from my distributor. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So, gotta get out of the way, as always, we're doing a weekly giveaway each and every week. 3 lucky winners will win 6 Fusion Strike booster packs. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed to the channel and then leave a like and comment on one of the 3 videos we post each and every week. You can of course leave a like and comment on each of the videos, which allows you for up to 3 entries on top of 3 winners. So your odds are actually very high. Like I said, just leave a comment down below and then leave a like. It's pretty simple as far as it goes with that. We obviously, as we continue to grow, we'll give more and more packs out. We have 500 subs right now. Once we hit our goal of 1,000, then we'll start giving away an extra 6 more packs. So then the winners will each get 8 packs instead of 6, and then so on and so forth as we continue to grow. But now that I got that out of the way, let's get on to today's topic of the video. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do kind of our peruse and looking at some of the prices. So for those who first off don't know, we had obviously talked about a Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection reprint occurring. I think it was like 2 weeks ago we had that conversation, and it looks as if, the prices are really starting to take that hit right now as other distributors start to come out and roll out with their reprints. Because one thing a lot of people don't know is that each and every distributor kind of has their own waves in which they get their reprints. Some the initial wave of a new set that comes out, everyone gets everything at once because you have that release date. But then each distributor has certain dates in which they will come out. Like for example, I have one of my distributors that basically will get it they will get reprinted product before everyone else does, and then my other distributor will get it typically around the same time everyone does. And sometimes it'll even flip-flop as far as it goes. Hopefully that made sense. That might sound confusing, but basically it's just not everything can kind of hit the market all at once. Typically it'll trickle out, but once the majority of distributors get their product, that's when you really start to see the price decline rapidly. So ultra premiums are around 250, which is a nice drop considering they're literally $300 not that long ago. So that's a little bit above. That's about a 30. Wait, no. That's about a 15% price drop, 20% price drop. Evolving Skies booster boxes and other booster boxes kind of sitting at around the same price as we kind of looked at the other day. Freaking still dirt cheap. One thing I do find that's interesting is Brilliant Star. It just slowly continues to dwindle, and this is something we're going to actually talk about quite a decent amount in regards to some things that are going to be upcoming. So first and foremost, just to kind of get it out of the way, so they just announced that there's going to be secret rares. Here's the secret rares from the starter deck 100 revealed. This is a special deck that's going to be released in Japan today. So you've got a full art Pikachu, full art Grumble, you've got a full art Zamazenta, you've got a full art, wow, how am I forgetting his name? Barry, and you also have a full art Marnie as well. And then you've got these gold shiny cards of the Galarian versions of Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. So these are actually some really cool cards. It'll be interesting to see kind of where that plays in for our upcoming set, if it's going to be in the VMAX Climax, or sorry, not VMAX Climax, the Brilliant Star set. But what's even more exciting than the release of that is we just found out that we're going to be having a special English set releasing in June of 2022. So as you guys can obviously see, we're going to have some notable character arts that are going to be showing up in the set. And it's potential that these promos that I just showed you could show up in that. But kind of what you're imagining is that it's going to kind of follow, the same suit as it did with, like you guys said, Shining Fates, Celebrations, when everything's going to be in ETBs, pin collections, mini tins, and all that kind of fun stuff in between. It'll be interesting to definitely see what that's going to entail, but I presume, as we know, when they come out with the next set in January for Japan, that's going to focus a lot around kind of the V-Star. As traditionally English does, you're going to have those 2 sets of VMAX Climax and then that January set for Japan combined together, and then the remaining cards are going to more than likely going to be put into that special June set for English. So because Pokemon Company English likes to just make the sets massive for some reason instead of breaking them up. Whether you like it or you hate it, that's just kind of how it is. And so it'll be interesting to see with the set really taking a focus on a lot of these full arts and other cards. But Now, here is where the real topic of the video is going to be and why this is going to be very, very exciting. So obviously I've talked very much so in depth with you guys in regards to overall demand, and I even talked to you guys as well about the dirty little secret I said as far as it goes with distributor prices, manipulation, and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, I had mentioned to you guys before, I said there's either two things that are going to happen. I said either one, distributors are going to have to drop their prices to adjust to the overall decrease in demand, because distributors are not going to be able to sell product if literally there's no margin to be made from your overall online retailer and your local LGS. Or two, you're going to have to see prices begin to get jacked up, and then people are going to have to pay those prices. Otherwise, product is not going to be able to get moved. Well, one of those two things just happened. So prices, as you guys know, have continued to drop. And I had mentioned to you guys that literally this last Fusion Strike set, my distributor upped the price of booster boxes to $90. Well, they just came out and they just announced that they're going to be dropping it back down to $86, which is an absolute huge deal, because that kind of talks to us the real sentiment that is going around the market in regards to, okay, is demand really playing a huge factor, or is it just one of these short-term things where there was a lot of over-leveraged investors, there was a lot of over-leveraged local game stores, and this really does tell us that exactly. So you know that's and I think that's actually really exciting, because for those people that, like I've mentioned many times before, are like, are we in a bear market, are we not in a bear market, really we need to find that confirmation with demand. This is one of those confirmations that we can see and say to ourselves, this is going to be huge. Because if you're telling yourself right now that you're able to get that extra $4, and you might not think it's a huge deal, but that gives distributors, and more specifically I should say retailers, a lot of breathing room to be able to sell product, because if I'm saying to myself, right, I've got a booster box that I'm selling for $100, right, and it's $90 is how much I'm buying it for, right? If I'm wanting to offer free shipping on a product, it's going to cost anywhere between $8 to $10 depending upon where I'm shipping it to. So shipping is not cheap. And then of course, on top of the fact of the matter, let's say I don't offer free shipping and I make you as the buyer pay for it. Well, then you also still have to account into that 3.2% or however much the transaction fee is. And that's going to still cost me around, a couple of bucks. And then of course you have site fees, you have, shipping fees. And so your margins in and of themselves are going to be around $3 to $4 a booster box, which is around 5 minus percentage points. So when you give yourself that extra $4, it's a lot of breathing room, especially when it comes to selling in a lot of bulk. One thing I will say that is very interesting is I got my allocation numbers. I'll be listing that shortly on the site for Brilliant Star, Brilliant Star. Is I actually got a massive amount of allocations cut for my overall booster boxes that I have been given to me. And the funny thing is too, is as far as what my distributors given me, everything they've given me, whether it be Evolving Skies, whether it be any of the reprints, I have bought everything they've given me. Because for me, it's one of these things where I don't want to burn that kind of relationship I have with my distributor. And so I've been just continuously buying the product that they've been giving me that I had pre-ordered out in advance. Now, with that being said, one thing that I am very, very, like I said, with that relationship being kind of, a strong relationship with my distributor, I would still presume that my allocations would stay either the same, or if the demand really was going down, that there would be more and more product to buy, right? Well, my overall distribution is usually, on average, I get about 90 booster boxes in total between wave 1, 2, and 3, right? So my last one with Fusion Strike, I got about 82. So it got decreased by 10%, which to me, I was like, dang, that's like a decrease I wasn't expecting to kind of happen. And as far as it goes, when I had asked my distributor about it, they told me that Fusion Strike was going to be a set that wasn't going to be super overly printed. And so for that reason, that was the expectation, because I was only getting so much based off of the amount of print that the Pokemon company was kind of bringing out with that. So I said, okay, that makes sense to me, so I completely understand that. Now, with this new set, which of course Brilliant Star is going to be coming out, as you guys know, sometime in the middle of February, you would assume to yourself, okay, well, with that being said, is there going to be a decent amount of product, because we're going to be having a lot of breathing room in regards to the overall product being given out to these online retailers. you would assume that you would be able to get a lot more product since there's so much print time. Well, for those people that are interested to know what my actual allocation number is, 90 was the usual, 82 for Fusion, and I just came out and found out that I'm going to be getting only 66, and that's for both Wave 1 and 2. Wave 1, it's going to be 44, and then Wave 2, it's going to be 22. So that is actually a huge decrease. One thing I will tell you that is interesting, and you can take everything as a grain of salt. Typically, I would get around 90 Elite Trainer boxes. I got 50. So that's almost a 50% decrease. My overall 3-pack blisters, I've never gotten 3-pack blisters allocated to me, but I got 2 cases allocated. I've never gotten sleeve booster cases allocated to me. I got 2. Build and battle boxes, I only had 3 allocated to me, and that's cases. Build and battle stadiums, I had 9 allocated to me, which is 1 case. And then I had 2 Brilliant Star mini portfolios allocated to me, which, I mean, no one cares about that. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point of the matter is the product that I was allocated to me was very, very small. So either one of two things is happening. Either one, you're starting to see that the Pokemon company really focused on catching up on reprints over these next 4 months, and so the allocation number for Brilliant Star is going to be really low. Or 2, the distributors are holding on to a lot of product more than we realize because they're not able to sell as much of it, which that still in and of itself, like that statement alone out loud just doesn't make sense to me. Like why would they hold on to that product? Just for them to kind of hope that they can sell larger margins down the road. Like I can understand them doing that because recently, like I said before, they just dropped their booster box prices down by $4 so they can say to themselves, we're going to sell an initial amount and then any extra we're going to hold on to. But it just doesn't make any sense to me, you know? So I'm going to have to go with the former and saying that you're just going to see a lot smaller of a wave of Brilliant Star kind of come out. But one thing I want people to understand is don't panic about that because literally right now, leading into pre-orders, the price of the booster boxes is going for $122, right? And the assumption is after the initial release, either it's going to initially go down right away, or you're going to see a kind of short-term little spike happen because people are going to get hyped and they're going to want to pay those premium prices after initial release, kind of what Evolving Skies did. Or you could see it go the route of kind of what Fusion Strike did, and it could just keep going down. It's going to be one of those two things. It really just depends. I think it will start to go down and continue to go down as we know with the demand, because there is no way that my distributor is going to just say, okay, we can't sell any of our product because we're jacking up the prices to $90. We're going to have to drop it back down to the prior prices. And that also is a good level of confidence too, knowing that if the demand does begin to decrease, then you're going to see these prices that distributors are going to be charging to also decrease as well. So that can show us that we can actually continue to go back in time and look at actual prices back during 2018. And so that can really give us a picture for the overall prices that we're going to be able to buy booster boxes for again. So that's super duper exciting in my personal opinion. So I think that's some really big news like I said, you can take everything I say with a grain of salt, but this is all the kind of information that I have gained not only from my distributor, but also my allocation numbers. I'll be interested to see as more people kind of talk about this, if they're getting the same allocations as I am, because then this will really kind of bring light on it. But I literally just found out about this yesterday. So, and I'm recording this. I always pre-record my videos. So yesterday being on Tuesday. Wait, no, is today Thursday? No. Sorry, found out about this on Wednesday. With that being said, question of course then remains, booster box investing. I've already talked to you guys about this before, and this is kind of going to be my last point I want to make on the video because I want to address a couple of things before we end this video. Hopefully I'll keep it under 20 minutes. But I had a lot of people kind of talk to me when I made, the statement that I think that long-term booster boxes historically have outperformed the market. There's two things I kind of want to take into example with that. A lot of people have really been kind of giving me examples that are very much so apples to oranges. And what do I mean by that? People will be like, oh, if I invested in like a modern booster box, then I would have made so much more money if I had invested in Apple, right? Like 9 times out of 10, investing in Apple would have been so much more profitable. Or I've had people say to me, well, if I had invested in Amazon for the past, 10 years, then I would have made way more money investing in Amazon than I would have invested in, modern sealed or whatever it is they want to talk about. And the problem is a lot of the kind of arguments that I'm hearing. And first and foremost, I want to just come out and say that I like it when you guys make these arguments, because for me, I want to be challenged in regards to my thought processes, because then it forces me to kind of go back and analyze my statements that I make. And if I'm wrong, you guys called me out on it, I correct it. If I'm right, I come back with an argument or a statement that can help clarify some things. So I want you guys to know that this is all very much fruitful, and I really enjoy these conversations that I have with you guys in the comments. So to kind of go back on it, everyone, like I said, is comparing things, in my personal opinion, apples to oranges. And so I'm going to clarify what I kind of mean when I say year over year. If we take a look at the overall S&P 500 and we say to ourselves, okay, we take a look at the S&P, and here's a perfect example of a price point we'll take a look at. So for those people that don't know, the Majestic Dawn Pokemon Booster Box set for Diamond and Pearl came out in 2008 of September. It came out literally right near the end of the start of the recession. And it was one of those sets that, because it was in the Diamond and Pearl era, was very undervalued. And because it grew in that kind of time of where Pokemon itself was really dying, it did not get a ton of growth. However, from the overall start of 2008 leading up to about the end of 2016, the price of the Majestic Dawn Booster Box went from about $80 is what you were able to buy it for, because literally, I mean, in some instances, you were able to get it for cheaper, but we're just going to say 80 for the sake right now of the argument. And you were able to buy it for around the end of 2016 for $300. So if you guys want to do the math there, $300 divided by 80, that in and of itself is about a 375% growth, right? And that is the overall percentage that we're getting. So because it's like 3.75%, that's 300%, because that's how much more it gained, right? So if you want to take a look at the S&P 500, and we can take a look right now, and we can say the average index going at around September 19th, 2008, that's 1,255, right? Now, if we say to ourselves, let's look at the end of 2016, 2,085. I mean, I don't have to do the math, but I can do the math. We'll just do an even 12,000 divided by 2,000. The math comes out to the fact that it was about a 60% growth. So which would you rather have had? Would you rather have had a 60% growth or a 375% growth? And that's the thing, guys, is everyone kept telling me individual stocks. I was talking about the overall indexes, like the S&P 500 and other indexes around that. Because the thing is you can sit here and you can tell me I'm going to do this into an individual stock. But back during the inception of Apple, we didn't know if Apple was going to survive. We didn't know if Amazon was going to survive. And that was a risk that people that took, they made a ton of money off of it. So you can sit here and you can kind of compare apples to oranges and saying individual stock, this one performed the best. But then you're always going to be able to pick the one that performed the best, comparing it to the overall general Pokemon market. And that's kind of the interesting thing, because in this argument that I'm making the argument during the time of when Pokemon performed the worst, it still outperformed a regular index fund. Now, if you want me to also compare apples to oranges and kind of make the same argument running the other way, let's take a look at the history of Amazon stock, right? So the history of Amazon stock, it's currently at around $3,377. So here's how I'm going to equate this. We're going to compare it to the overall price of when you could buy a first edition booster box and the overall highest sold listing. So if you want to take into account that Amazon first started at around 56, I mean, you could say obviously $1.73, but once it had its initial IPO, it started to drop as around $58. However, obviously you have stock splits that play into a factor when it comes to that. So we can't really use stock splits. We're going to use stock splits as a way to kind of calculate the overall price difference when it comes to how much it's actually grown, because market cap's a better indicator. Because if the price of Amazon were to go up to $10,000 and then they do a split and of 10 and it goes down to $1,000, then obviously, historically speaking, it's not going to represent the overall market cap. So if we take a look right now and we can say to ourselves, okay, let's look at the overall market cap of 1.71 trillion. And so if we say to ourselves, okay, we take a look, let's do the math. So if you were to buy it back then when it had its initial IPO and it raised about $1.8 billion. So if we say 1,700, which equates to 1.7 trillion, divided by 1.8, which equates to 1.8 billion, equals around a 944x return, right? So that's about, what is it, 944,000, I think is the overall return, or 94,000, however much it is. We just look at that number, say 944, right? That's a huge return. That is a massive return from the start of Amazon. And if you are one of these people that got lucky, and after 2009 and the recession started to kind of turn around back in 2012, you can then say to yourself, okay, I got in during right before the boom, right? Now, if we take the price of a booster box, which I know this might sound crazy for people to hear, but yes, you could buy a first edition booster box of Pokemon for $80. Now, once again, that is a risk that you took back then when Pokemon was literally at its inception, before it got bought by Nintendo and before the hype even happened after it had its initial release. You look at the overall historical sale, $408,000 is the highest paid that we have on record. If I'm correct, there's been some individual sales that have sold for higher, but we're not going to look at that. We're going to look at the 408. Now, if we say to ourselves $408,000 and we divide that by 80, which was the cheapest you could get it for, that equates to 5,100 as your overall return, or 5.1 million %. So if we're comparing, once again, apples to oranges in regards to Amazon, you're still going to have, if you had invested in Amazon and you had invested in the overall booster box of first edition around the same time, you're still going to make 5 times more investing back in Pokemon as you would have Amazon. And now, of course, people could make the argument and say, Eli, well, that's unfair because Pokemon just had a parabolic boom and that's something Amazon hasn't done. I don't know about you guys, but if you look at this chart, at what point can you make that argument and say to yourself, this was not a parabolic boom? Because people have to still understand that stocks in and of themselves also have booms. I mean, if you guys want to take a look at Tesla stock and the overall history of that from its all-time peak, if we go take a look at the max of Tesla after, of course, it had its splits where it was able to go up to, I think, $3,000 or $4,000. When we look at the overall, we can't even look at the overall chart history from the overall max, because the thing is about the history of Tesla in regards to its overall growth as a company, it in and of itself have had such overall exponential growth within the past year or two. I remember when I was looking at it, okay, here we can take a look at the 5-year, right? So if you guys want to take a look at the regular 5-year, obviously this is not a perfect representation as far as it goes when it came to Amazon stock, but I remember myself being able to go buy back in 2017, I was able to buy the stock of it for it wasn't even 100 billion. It was at 80 billion, which is about a 10x return in the span of 2 to 3 years, which you can say to yourself, that in and of itself is not high in the grand scheme of things from the overall return that you could have gotten from something investing in Apple. But considering the fact of the matter that something like Tesla, which had an individual growth of 10x within the span of 3 years, which is something you typically don't see in a lot of regular stocks, that can once again go to show you guys that, of course, there is potential for a lot of these stocks to have exponential growth within a short period of time. So that's to say that, of course, you can always point out one over the other. This is where the overall growth is going to be higher. But you guys have to once again understand we're comparing the overall averages. If we take the overall average of Amazon over its life of, once again, going back to March 1998, hits about 2 billion, a little bit below that 1.8. And then we compare that to, once again, its overall current market cap compared to the overall highest market cap of the first edition booster box. You're going to make 5 times more as if you had invested in Amazon. Once again, that's not to say Amazon is not a bad investment. And once again, that's not to say that, at the time, investing in Amazon was better than investing in Pokemon or vice versa. You took a risk one way or another. Investing in a speculative, trading card game that was backed by Wizards of the Coast, but at the time was not backed by the full faith and power of the Nintendo company. And then you say to yourself, Amazon, which was literally an online bookstore when it first kind of came out. And then eventually it transitioned into what it is as a media conglomerate, online retail sales store, because you obviously have Amazon Business, you've got Amazon Prime when it comes to shipping, you've got Amazon Prime Video. So it's like they have so many, like, as far as it goes from its overall media entertainment, from its overall just online sales, like there's so much in regards to what Amazon really means as a brand. You know, you've got obviously, you know, as Rudy would say, Bezos on his penis rocket logo flying off to space. So it's one of these things where it's like, you know, Amazon in and of itself has done so many things. So the company in itself, if you took that risk, and it paid off exponentially, but the argument is still made when it comes to Pokemon. And so once again, if we look at the historical growth in regards to the overall inception between the first edition booster box compared to Amazon, it performed stronger than if you want to look at the overall average of an index fund compared to, like I said, one of the booster boxes that was in one of the worst performing times for Pokemon as a hobby. It ended up still outpacing the overall S&P by around 4 times higher. And so that's something you guys have to understand in the way in which I'm looking at it. You know, if you try and compare to me the stock of Apple compared to like Evolving Skies, or like comparing it to like, you know, let's say Ancient Origins or one of these more modern sets, then that's such an unfair comparison. You have to be able to compare it to something during its actual time. And of course, you can then say to yourself, well, Eli, here's another fun statement we're going to say. Eli, it's also not a fair statement for you to make because modern booster boxes were print so much more than it was during that time. And the overall parabolic growth during the time of first edition is a lot higher because the amount of scarcity that there is compared to the overall supply. And I would say to you, that is 100% true. And I agree with you in that statement. But one thing I feel like you're missing in the main big picture of this overall argument that I'm making is that when it comes to overall parabolic growth in a lot of these stocks, a lot of them have kind of reached that peak of parabolic growth. Of course, they're going to reach higher market caps over time. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon, you know, within the next 10 years hit 3-4, you know, trillion overall percentage points, right? But if you're saying to, you know, or not percentage points, sorry, 3 to 4 trillion overall market cap, which that's great if it's able to hit that within the next, you know, 3 to 5 years. But also you have to say to yourself as well, it's at its overall peak and overall prime of overall in, you know, rapid growth, and so it's going to stay a lot more stagnant within the next, you know, 3 to 5 years. And that stagnant will still be growth, but it's not going to be as exponential because you're on the back end. And that's once again going to equate to a lot of modern boxes because they're also going to be stagnant because they're in that reprint phase. However, once you start to get out of that reprint phase and you start to see that kind of exponential growth because you start to have a lot of that, you know, deflationary value of booster boxes being open, is when you start to really see that real value. And once you start to really see that one-to-one comparison when it comes to its overall performance compared to index funds such as S&P 500. So that's just something that I wanted to clarify. I wanted people to kind of understand when I'm making these statements, I want you to know that you can't just compare it apples to oranges. You have to be able to find the differences in what I am comparing, because there is so many different instances and we can look and make an argument for both. And I just want to clarify the argument that I was making, and more importantly, clarify the argument to why I think right now, and this is not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, right now with the current state of the bear market and within the demand continuing to go down, and with the fact of the matter that distributors are lowering prices because they can't sell their booster boxes, and this more than likely is going to happen over the next 1 to 2 years, that you're starting to see such an opportunity for a lot of these sealed modern sets as a good long-term 3 to 5 to 10 year investments. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but I'm just telling you guys my personal thoughts and looking at a lot of the opportunity in the market, especially for a lot of these really premium sets that you're going to be able to invest in now, whether it be Evolving Skies, Vivid Voltage, you know, Celebrations, and so much more. But as far as it goes, I went for almost 30 minutes, so I went over 10 minutes what I was expecting, but nonetheless, hopefully it's all important information and helpful information for you guys to learn. Please let me know, of course, in the comment section down below if you want to, once again, have a counterpoint to everything I said. I will, of course, respond to that, and I really enjoy, once again, you guys leaving comments. If you find this video helpful, enjoyable, once again, leave a comment, let me know. Leave a like on the video, and as always, once again, we are doing these weekly giveaways. 3 lucky winners win 6 Fusion Strike booster packs. All you have to do to enter, be subscribed to the channel, leave a like, comment down below on each one of our 3 videos that we list each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can comment and like on each one, allowing you for up to 3 entries as well as 3 winners. Your odds are pretty high as it is. So yeah, that is all I have for today's video. Once again, thank you all guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Monday. Peace.